be on the other side.
Doug?
Yeah. You can say, hey, Doug. There he is.
Hello, Doug. Now he can hear me.
Doug, you got us?
All right, I got you.
Sweet. Does it look better? Does it look better? Sound better?
I'm on Tracy's computer, so it sounds a lot better.
Okay, cool. All right, we're ready whenever you are.
Okay, well, we will go ahead and get started. I'd like to welcome Jordan Spieth, world number 11, to the virtual interview room here at the World Champions FedEx Jude Invitational. Jordan, making your 8th start in the various iterations of the event, highlighted by a tie for 3rd in 2016 at Firestone. Just a few comments on being back here at TPC Southwind this week and just kind of assessing the state of your game.
Yeah, I think it's a really good golf course. I probably would have played here every year, had it not been where it was in the schedule. And so coming in, having, played quite a bit better over the last, 6-7 months versus kind of the form I was in coming in previous years, I'm excited to, kind of step up confidently to this golf course. And I really like the greens. They're kind of very similar to what I grew up on, so I like that kind of fast, slopey, grainy Bermuda. And then the course itself requires a lot of different shots off tees. You got to kind of work it both ways into a lot of the pins. So it's just overall a really nice test where at par 70 you don't necessarily see scores go extremely low, and instead you got to really kind of pick where your chances come. So it's one of those golf courses every year that you kind of look forward to coming to, where you don't necessarily have to be a shootout, but instead you got to really golf your ball.
Okay, and just as far as your season goes, obviously back to the winner's circle, the Valero Texas Open, and a couple of runner-up finishes in your last 4 starts heading into this week. Just kind of how you're feeling, what your strengths, what are you most confident with heading into the week?
Yeah, it's been a really good season thus far. I kind of bounce back and forth between obviously very pleased with where everything's at and kind of where I'm at in the FedexCup, the being able to kind of have a lot of leeway there and look forward into a place I hadn't been in a few years in Eastlake. But at the same time, I look back and I'm like, man, I really feel like I could have had 3 or 4 wins this season in some various events. So I'm obviously very, very pleased, but the part of me that's the perfectionist is wanting more and more, and I think that's great. I think that's going to push me to continue to try and improve, which I certainly have plenty of room to still do.
Okay, well with that, we'll take a few questions, and our first question comes from Ryan Latner with Golf Channel. Ryan, go ahead.
Hey Jordan, a couple weeks off since the Open. For those of us who will never be in contention in a major, can you explain what those first few days are like physically, emotionally, mentally after a major that you're in contention for?
Yeah, don't sell yourself short. You never know, but I would say it's it was kind of what I just explained about kind of the season this season. I took maybe 5 days without touching a club, 5 or 6 days coming back. Obviously, it's a little different when you got to travel internationally too. You're already pretty tired from the wear and tear of the weekend, and then you're obviously traveling back, so it just kind of takes a little longer to recover when you're in contention, let alone just international travel to begin with, not to mention what these guys in the Olympics have had to do this week. But I kind of struggle because I'm like, it was probably the best golf I've played this year, and I would have signed for 13 under when the week started. Having said that, I felt like I've won a tournament this year, and I played better at the Open than I did, say, at Valero. And so I'm kind of, it's frustrating because second doesn't get you a major win on the history books. Instead, it's a second. And there were certainly things that I could have done a bit better at certain times that would have, given me a better chance starting Sunday instead of being a few back. So I just kind of, I'm excited about kind of the progress after 3 weeks off to be able to go in and really have a chance to win, but I'm also a bit kind of frustrated at the end of it that I didn't end up, holding the claret jug. So now we wait, quite a while until the next major, but we've got obviously a ton to play for coming up. It's taxing for sure, but without playing the next week and having a couple weeks off, it's quite a bit easier to make sure you recover and look forward.
And Jordan, can I ask, because you've mentioned it even at Royal St. George's afterward, you said you're still not close to where you want to be, either with your golf swing or with your game. The iPad certainly is being passed, and the statistics are certainly proving that out as well. I'm just curious, where in your mind do you feel like you can still make the most strides?
Yeah, I don't think I should have phrased it as I'm still not close. I feel that I'm certainly have made a lot of progress, and I think there's still a little ways to go, and a lot of it's still in the structure of the swing. It's just instead of, I think I'm doing a lot of the major things really well now, which is allowing me to have more consistent start lines through the bag, which allows me to step up with confidence and have chances to win golf tournaments. But the freedom of kind of tightening up things in the swing, allowing me to feel like I have every shot, and then I could certainly I would certainly like my putting stroke to feel a little more free, like certain years it has been. Working on that as well. So just a little bit of work to do really through the bag. I wouldn't say there's anything that I sit there and say I'm doing it the best I ever have, but I think I'm doing a lot of things really well, and I think that's kind of what I mean. I probably misspoke when I said not even close, because that's not accurate. I've given myself quite a bit of grace, and I've gained a lot of confidence. So, but I still think that there's kind of a next level through the bag with each part of my game.
Okay, thanks, Jordan. Appreciate the time.
Okay, next we go to Jamie Weir with Sky Sports. Jamie, go ahead.
Thanks very much, Doug. Hello there, Jordan. One of the byproducts, obviously, of this fantastic last 7 or 8 months for you has been that you will almost certainly be on the Ryder Cup team next month. Whereas, had it been last September, you probably wouldn't have been on that team. Just how much does that mean to you? And do you think you will head to Whistling Straits with an even greater appreciation than you did to Glen Eagles or Hazeltine or Paris?
I think, I guess it's kind of a lucky break in a way, right? Because I wouldn't have picked myself last year, even though I think I could have helped the team. Just I've always think that if I just get in that, like in 2018 when I was on that Ryder Cup team, I was not playing as well as some guys that weren't on that team coming in, but went over there and just I just love that tournament, find a way to make it work and win some matches. I don't think that I'll necessarily have a different or more appreciation because I didn't end up missing out and watching one. I did miss out and watch a President's Cup, but I hadn't had that. I didn't do that with a Ryder Cup. I think I'm going to go in with the idea that this is where I belong, this is who I am, and I'm supposed to come in and be a points leader for this team. And that's the goal I think everybody coming in should have for our team. And so I don't see it as being an extra appreciation because I may have missed out last year. I think I kind of got lucky that I didn't have to go through that this time around, and hopefully not for a long time.
And I suppose everybody else in this call, golf fans around the world, have been so happy to see you get back to the Jordan Spieth that we know and love. Are you aware of that, and do you feed off that, the warmth and affection that golf fans feel for you in particular? Is that something you're aware of? Yeah,
actually, what's pretty awesome about the whole situation is I never felt when I was on course like I ever had a lack of support. I've always felt like even when I wasn't playing well, a lot of people still came out and were cheering us on, and that's been cool. Now I can obviously feed off a little bit of that extra energy, and as you're in contention, it's back to kind of exactly how it used to felt as far as the reaction from crowds and seeing the kids in the Under Armour gear and whatever it may be, where you kind of recognize, hey, they're there rooting for me. So that's obviously awesome, being able to be in contention more often and see that and feel that kind of energy more often. But I appreciate you saying that. It's very nice. I'm obviously very glad to be putting myself in those positions more often, learning from it. I mean, I feel somewhat similar to the 2014 year where, I did win this season, and I didn't win in 2014 until way late in the year in Australia in Tiger's event, but I felt like I was in contention a lot. I was striking the ball well, and I just hadn't really pieced together, that that extra bit of patience that to not make a mistake here or there. I've kind of had, instead of 36 bad holes in the bad, time frames, I've had like 9 holes where I could look back and I'm like, man, if I was a little tighter there, I could have 3 or 4 wins, and that's what I did well in 2015. So hopefully this season continues to be more of a momentum going my way and can carry that into years going forward.
Keep up the good work, and I'll
Thank
see you
you.
at Whistling Straits.
Thanks. Hopefully.
Okay, next we're going to Bernie McGuire with the daily record. Bernie.
Jordan, hi, good to see you.
Too, Bernie.
Talking about warmth and affection of the fans, of course you endeared yourself to Britons when you won the Open at Birkdale, but picking up on the news yesterday with this strategic alliance with the European Tour and the PGA Tour, and I was just doing a bit of research, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but I don't think you've ever played a regular European Tour event, and with the Scottish Open in particular now being co-sanctioned with the European Tour and the PGA Tour for next year, could we finally see you play on Scottish soil, perhaps before St Andrews next year? I know we're looking at 12 months ahead, but would that be tempting now that it's co-sanctioned?
I would say very highly likely. I think it's a great idea to play, and I wish that I had this year, to be honest. And I expressed that right after the Open. I thought a couple mistakes that I made potentially could have been a little bit of somewhat rust of a few weeks off, little like wedge plays where I used a 60 where in the States I would fly it next to the hole, but over there you've got to bump something up, and I left it short on 17 on Saturday. Just little shots where I was like, man, if only, or putts where I left it short where I just hadn't really fully adjusted to the speed of the green. So I think it's extremely useful, not only because it's always one of the better field tournaments of the year anywhere in the world, but also because of the preparation that it is for the Open Championship. So I would say it's very likely.
And just quickly on the back of that your answer, what do you see now of this new initiative going forward in terms of, they've named of course the Barracuda and the Barrasol on the PGA Tour as opportunities for European Tour players, and now the Scottish, for you guys in the States. Would you like to see more events co-sanctioned with the European Tour? And do you think that will happen?
This has been something that's been in the works for a little while within the board of the PGA Tour, and then obviously taking a position in the European Tour. That was obviously something that they were looking forward to doing with some flagship events. So I would say that there's probably going to be a situation where there's talks of continuing to do that, whether it's creating, I don't know what time of year, because it is difficult when it's during the PGA Tour season. The Tour does such a great job of where tournaments are located to make travel that easy to go week to week. It's not exactly easy to go over to Europe and back week to week. So it would have to obviously be the right timing, but I think that creating more of a position over there with combining the best players from all around the world is certainly the ultimate goal for the PGA Tour.
Great, thanks, and good luck this week too.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Okay, Jordan, and finally we're going to go to Shane Ryan with Golf Digest. Shane, go ahead.
Hey Jordan, I've got a Ryder Cup question for you. You've been on 3 teams now. Obviously 2016 from a team perspective was very different results-wise from the other 2. A lot of people will default to the explanation of, hey, we just went out and played better that week. Not even saying that's wrong, but I look at you as somebody who, way down the road, you might be a Ryder Cup captain, I would think. I wonder, if there's something a little bit deeper there that you can take and say, this is what worked in 2016, this is something maybe that should be taken into 2021 at Whistling Straits.
I think home soil's an advantage. We're used to pretty much every week being home soil. When we play on the PGA Tour, you don't play away games very often. So I think that obviously helps a lot. So there's the number one difference. I would say 16 and 18 felt very similar. We got outplayed in 2018 and we outplayed them in 2016. 2014 was, I felt different than the other 2. Just in the team room and obviously all the drama that unfolded. Me being somebody that was just, I was just happy to be there and that was my first one and didn't really know what to expect. So I would expect them to feel very similar to the last couple, and they just did a great job in course setup and the way they managed that golf course in Paris. And then went out and in singles matches went out and did what they needed to do. I felt that, you know, myself and Justin had a great time. I've played really well with Patrick as well. So I've always had an awesome time in the team format, the best ball and the alternate shot. And then I've gotten to individuals, and I need to just do a better job of getting a point for my team in the singles matches. But to answer your question, I think it's more than anything. I think it's home soil really helps with that kind of energy and momentum that we feel.
And as a quick follow-up to what you just said, you're somebody who American golfers haven't always in the last 20 years been super successful in the pairs format, and you've been wildly successful in the Ryder Cup. And this may be a hard question to answer, but if somebody were to ask you, a fellow player, you know, what's the correct mindset to take, or what's kind of the secret to getting ready to play this way and be successful in such a high-pressure environment, what would you tell them?
Well, I think each format's very different, foursomes versus four ball. But I would say for either one, you know, my big thing is always no apologizing. You know, we all know what each other is capable of doing on that team, and you don't have to feel insecure about a bad hole or a bad stretch of holes or something like that, because as long as you don't lose confidence, you can step up and you know, and hit that next shot without really caring what your teammate thinks about you, and you're just playing for yourself. I think that that's most important. So I'm always a big no apologizing guy, regardless of the situation. We're the men in the arena out there. We're the ones going out there. It's going to be something different than what we're used to playing our own ball, regardless of the best ball. You know, you're gonna have strategy, and it is a little bit different. And you know, that's, I guess, would be the number one thing, is you're kind of going out with a teammate, but you're kind of sitting there going, you know, don't act like you have to do anything for me. You know, go out there and do exactly what you do for yourself.
I heard that same thing from Poulter about him and Justin Rose, so that's interesting. Thank you, Jordan. Appreciate it.
Got it.
All right, Jordan, thank you for your time. Best of luck this week.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Jordan.
Okay.